Good morning, Rishu, Tanvi, Ashutosh, Alma, Sadvika, and Mansi. Good morning to each one of you. So, you must have seen your syllabus, which I already posted in Google Classroom. So, please do consult your syllabus and let me know if you have any doubt. And so, please do check. Are you there, dear students? Okay, so somehow I got connected. Thank you, Tanvi, Bhunesh. Let me teach you quickly so that otherwise it might go once again. So here you see the poem highlights how various objects of nature are a perennial source of pleasure for human beings. A beautiful object is always treasured in our mind because it provides us eternal and everlasting joy. A beautiful object is always treasured in our mind because it provides us eternal and everlasting joy. An object of beauty never fades into insignificance but multiplies manifolds whenever it returns to our mind. The poem focuses on the theme of happiness and how it can be experienced, right? Now you see, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. So the poet means to say that a thing of beauty, uh, something that exists in nature, a thing of beauty, is a perennial source of joy for us, right? It's a perennial source of joy for us. Its loveliness always increases with every passing that day, and it will never pass into nothingness. It means it will never become insignificant, but will keep a bower quiet for us. A thing of beauty will always keep a bower quiet for us. Bower means here a shady place under the tree, right? So a thing of beauty will always keep a bower, a shady place for us, for relaxation, for and a sleep full of sweet dreams, health and quiet breathing. Okay, means a thing of beauty will ensure not only a shady place for us, but also will ensure a sound sleep full of sweet dreams and a healthy body and a relaxed state of mind, right? So a thing of beauty is a joy forever, okay, to each one of us. It will ensure that we have a healthy body. It will ensure that we have sound sleep, sound health, and we have relaxed state of mind as well. Means a thing of beauty always gives human beings happiness, dear students, right? So paraphrase, you see, the poet says that beauty stays forever. It never fades away and it increases with the passing time. The poet means to say that an object of beauty never goes off with the passing time. Rather, it multiplies with passage of time. According to the poet, beauty is like a beautiful tree under whose shade all the creatures can sleep peacefully, enjoy good health and relaxed breathing. Okay, so according to the poet, beauty is like a beautiful tree. Okay, like a bower quiet for us is means beauty is like a beautiful tree, according to the poet, under whose shade all the creatures can sleep peacefully, enjoy good health and relaxed breathing. Right? So I hope you understood this. A bower quiet for us. Here the poet goes on to compare a beautiful thing with a shaded tree under whose shade all the creatures can sleep and have sound sleep and quiet breathing. Right? Next you see line 6 to 7. Line 6 to 7 you see, therefore on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth. So the poet says that therefore every morrow means every tomorrow we are reading means we are surrounding or encircling, we are creating a flowery band. Flowery band means here attachment. Every tomorrow we are creating an attachment with our earth. Right? So with this beautiful memory, with this beautiful object, we are creating emotional attachment with the earth. Okay, so that is why a thing of beauty also helps us to increase our attachment with the earth. The poet says that with every passing day, it is the beauty which fills us with immense joy to live on this earth. With the object of beauty providing us sustenance of life, we are being attached to the earth like all the flowers remain attached to each other in a garland of flowers. Okay, like in a garland of flowers, all the flowers remain attached to each other. Likewise, we human beings are attached to the earth. Okay, we human beings are attached to beautiful objects on this earth, like the flowers which remain attached to each other in a garland of flowers. Okay, understood I suppose. Now let's move on to line number 8 to 11. Okay, now let's move on to line number 8 to 11. So you can see here, spite of despondence. So despondence here refers to depression. Okay, in spite of disappointment, in spite of depression, of the inhuman dearth of noble creatures, means in spite of the shortage. Inhuman dearth of noble natures means in spite of the shortage of virtuous people around. Noble natures means here virtuous people. So in spite of disappointment, in spite of the shortage of virtuous people, in spite of the presence of gloomy days, right? In spite of all the trials and tribulations, okay, over darkened ways means in spite of all the unhealthy and challenges of our life, which inhibit our search for those things of beauty, okay, which come as an interruption in our search for a thing of beauty. In spite of unhealthy and all the challenges of life which tend to interrupt us in enjoying beautiful things of life, in spite of the presence of such unhealthy and challenges of life, a thing of beauty provides us some kind of comfort, some sort of comfort and some sort of relaxation. Understood? So let us go for the paraphrase of these few lines. The poet means to say that a beautiful object has such magnetic charm that it tends to overpower everything. The poet means to say that a beautiful object has such magnetic charm that it tends to overpower everything. In spite of being depressed, in spite of having shortness of virtuous people, In spite of our sad days, in spite of trials and tribulations, means challenges, which tend to restrict us to find those things of beauty, we overcome all limitations and find joy in recollecting the moment of happiness in our lives, right? We overcome all limitations and find joy in recollecting the moment of happiness in our lives. So that is important actually. A thing of beauty has such a you can say therapeutic like impact in our life, that in spite of challenges, in spite of sad days, in spite of disappointment, in spite of shortage of virtuous people, okay, a thing of beauty somehow helps us to find joy in recollecting the moment of happiness that we had spent with a thing of beauty. Okay, so it has such a impact in our life that even in the midst of challenges, even in the midst of unhappiness, we tend to lean back on the memory, those beautiful memories that are attached to us, related to a thing of beauty, right? Now you see lines 11 to 13. We shall go through lines 11 to 13. Okay. Uh, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Yes, in spite of all. Right. In spite of all means in spite of every challenges, every limitation, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Some shape of beauty removes the pain from our sad state of mind. Okay. So in spite of everything, in spite of all the unhappiness, in spite of all that pose us challenge, in spite of every limitation, some shape of beauty definitely helps us to remove the pain from our sad state of mind. So the poet emphasizes on the fact that in spite of all the shortcomings of life, all the hurdles of life, in spite of all, an object of beauty that is found in nature takes away our pain from the depressed mind. Right? Now let's move on to lines 14 to 19. Such the moon, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils with the green world they live in. So the poet goes on to give some instances of things of beauty from nature, like the sun, the moon, young and old trees, okay, which are providing shade. Shady moon means providing shade for simple sheep. Okay, so young and old trees which provide shade to simple sheep, they are the sources of beauty. And daffodils with the green world they live in, they are the also examples of things of beauty. And clear rills, clear rills means small clean water, okay, clean small rivers, clear rills, clean small rivers, that for themselves a cooling covert, that create a source of cool breeze, right, against the hot season. So even a clean or few clean small rivers in the forest, that also appear to be a source of cool breeze against the hot and humid season. So that those clear rills or small rivers can also be a source of happiness for the uh, you can say the habitat, the forest habitat here. Okay, make against the hot season. The mid forest break here refers to forest fern. Okay, mid forest break means here the forest fern, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, right? So here these are some of the examples that the poet has forwarded from the world of nature. One is young and old trees, then daffodils, then he says clear rills, then mid forest break. These are some of the examples of the objects of nature. So let's go to the paraphrase. The poet gives the example of the sun, moon, tree, daffodils, and small rivers and forest fern, which are the things of beauty found in nature, and they are responsible for creating beautiful memories for us during our bad phases of life. For example, trees, both young and old, provide shades to young sheep. Daffodils, by their green surroundings, are a source of perennial joy for us. Clear streams provide cool breeze and give relief from the hot season. The forest fern of musk roses is also a refreshing treat for the eyes, right? Now let's move on to the last stanza of this poem, right? So so dear students, I hope you are able to see the content as well as hear me properly. Please do confirm once. Tanvi, Utkarsh, Kushi, Sajal. Please do confirm me once if you are able to see the content as well as hear my voice, so that I can go ahead with the last stanza of this poem. Okay, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms. Grandeur of the dooms means presence of joy even in sadness. Such too is the, now the poet moves on to the human beings, and goes on to say that human beings can also be a source of pleasure for us, like he will explain now. He's saying such too is the grandeur of the dooms. Grandeur of the dooms means presence of joy even in sadness. We have imagined for the mighty dead. Mighty dead refers to here those famous people who have died. So the poet says that even in the even in the remembrance of the famous people, okay, there is a grandeur attached to the death. Okay, there is a presence of joy even in death. Okay, even in death there's a presence of joy, because whenever we recollect the name of the famous people, it brings immense pleasure in our mind, okay, because of their contribution to the world. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, okay, we might have read, gone through lovely tales about those beautiful famous people. So all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink. Okay, that is an endless fountain of immortal drink. Means whenever we hear the tales of the famous people who have contributed to the development of this world, that provides us inspiration, that provides us motivation, which is something like endless fountain of immortal drink. It means which is something perennial. This sort of inspiration, whenever we think of those famous people, whenever we go through them in stories, it provides us sustenance in life. Okay, and this particular endless inspiration that we get, it is something like the endless fountain of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heaven spring. Pouring onto us means here it is we experience heavenly bliss whenever we go through the stories of those famous people. It seems that we get endless inspiration, and that is a heaven's gift to us. Okay, so now let's move on to the paraphrase so that we okay, thank you Kushi, Utkarsh, Sajal, thank you so much. Okay, now Now, paraphrase, let us go through. While talking about the objects of nature that gives us immense pleasure, the poet takes reference from our everyday life to justify that there is presence of joy even in the remembrance of famous people who are dead. Right? So while talking about the objects of nature that gives us immense pleasure, the poet takes reference from our everyday life to justify that there is presence of joy even in the remembrance of famous people who are dead. They continue to inspire us with their contribution in the world even though they are no longer with us. The poet further says in this reference that all beautiful stories of great people that we have heard or read are a source of perennial pleasures for us. Perennial means endless pleasures for us. And as these stories continue to inspire us and help us sustain the hard times of life. These stories are like endless flow of water from a fountain, which are showered upon us from the Almighty God. So these stories that we happen to go through or hear people's, hear people from people about different stories. These stories are like endless flow of water from a fountain, which are showered upon us from the Almighty God. We experience heavenly bliss when we take recourse to the life stories of great personalities, right? We experience heavenly bliss when we take recourse to the life stories of great personalities. They are like endless fountain from which mankind can drink elixir of life. Okay, elixir of life here means the nectar of life. Okay, the stories of those people are like endless fountain from which mankind get inspiration. Elixir of life means here mankind get inspiration. So now let's recapitulate this poem. The poem gives us the message that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Right? The poem gives us the message that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. In spite of the occasional bad patch in our lives, things of beauty are a source of perennial pleasure that helps us to sustain the trials of life. Anything that gives us pleasure sustains us to face life during our adversity. Any form of beauty that inspires us is like an endless fountain from which mankind can drink the elixir of life. The poem conveys the message that anything beautiful remains engraved in our heart and helps us live life in spite of trials and tribulations, or in spite of all the challenges and limitations of life. The poet conveys the message, okay, that anything beautiful remains engraved in our heart. Okay, and these are some of the literary devices like alliteration, sleep, sweet, brain, bean, noble, nature, simple, sheep. All these are the examples of alliteration. Imagery, you see a flowery band to bind us, sprouting shady boon, daffodils with the green world they live in, clear rails. They are the examples of imagery, and metaphor is immortal drinks, reading a flowery band. Then antithesis is old and young. Okay, and these are some of the NCERT solution. Please go through this NCERT solution. Okay, and I have got a concept video which you can watch from here by clicking here, and these are some of the extra questions. Okay, so please go through these NCERT questions. These are important, and also extra question from the website. This will be there in your periodic test 3. Right, so this will be there in your periodic test 3. So dear students, please go through the syllabus on the Google Classroom and let me know if you have any doubt. Okay, so now we shall tomorrow I can begin a new lesson. Day after tomorrow I can begin a new lesson for you. Okay, because our focus is the board exam, not so much PT3. Okay, so you please join. Okay, so that we can start a new lesson. We shall be able to finish our syllabus, I think, by this month itself. So please do join in the next class and consult the syllabus which is given in the Google Classroom, and take your preparation accordingly for the periodic test 3. Okay, so thank you. Here I take leave of you.